Hi. Okay, this is a new Nigeria with Olawale Oluwade. On today's episode, I would like to speak on what I've titled Is Nigeria Jinxed? Is Nigeria Jinxed? So, I watched and listened with rapt attention uh, the interview of former presidential candidate of the Alliance for Democracy, AD, in 1999, Chief Oluyemi Falaye, now an Oba, on Arise Television today, June 12th, 2025. It was indeed a time well spent. It's been a long time. I had, such pleasure, watching an interview on television. It's been a long time I did that. The interaction centered primarily on his role in the struggle for the de-annulment of the June 12 elections by the President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida military junta. The conversation eventually expanded to cover his role as secretary to the government of the federation and later on finance minister under the same IBB regime. Particularly the touchy subject of the structural adjustment program, otherwise called SAP, an economic policy of that regime that caused quite a ruckus at the time was also examined. I should know about that about SAP. I was an undergrad at the University of Benin then, and I participated actively in the riots, that broke out after the commencement of that program, and which led to not a few fatalities. Okay, so Oba Olufalaye discussed and provided brilliant, lucid, and candid responses to questions posed on a wide range of issues. Please don't take my word for it. Don't believe me. Just get the video. Remember, once again, Arise Television, June 12th, 2025. This morning, Olufalaye, get the video on Arise Television and then make up your mind after you watch the video. It's lengthy, about an hour, I think. I was grateful I wasn't watching a thug, a political thug, and hireling, abusing or insulting, television anchors again. I saw that like a couple of weeks ago, and I was totally, disgusted at what I saw. So I was glad this wasn't, one of such situations. So as I watched, I couldn't help but ask rhetorically, is Nigeria jinxed? This is where the topic came from. Here is a man with a solid pedigree, spanning his stellar academic qualifications as an Ivy League trained development economist, exemplary professional qualifications, and an unblemished career in the civil service, where he attained permanent secretary status, the highest in the civil service in Nigeria. His track records of distinction as secretary to the government of the federation and later on finance minister without reproach, stain, or any whiff of scandal. I listened keenly to his erudition, his diction, his demeanor, his razor sharp intellect, his wisdom in responses to questions, even when these questions seemed intended to provoke anger or stoke political controversies, that are useful for media to grab, media headlines. I saw an 86-year-old genuine elder statesman. These days you have people come on television, failed politicians, failed governors, failed ministers, failed business persons come and, self-style themselves elder statesmen. This was a genuine elder statesman. I saw him make minced meat of leading television anchors and best these anchors at their own game. And I was simply wowed, to be honest. So I watched and listened with rapt attention again. And I wondered within myself, how did Nigeria leave a Yale University trained development economist for a crude dictator? How? Just how? Can anyone square this circle for me, please? Can somebody explain this to me? Make it make sense to me. How Nigeria left a Yale Ivy League, trained development economist for, a crude dictator in 1999. Olufalaye was available, he was fully prepared to lead this blessed country, Nigeria. He wasn't in hiding and was presented as an option in 1999. Yet, the forces of retrogression, again, as it is customary, chose a less qualified person over him. In contrast, in sharp contrast to Oba Olufalaye, former President Olusegun Obasanjo then was just a former military dictator, less educated, with far less deliberate preparation for leadership, regardless of his legendary capacity for work, zeal, and abundance of native intelligence. As an aside, I remember my favorite preacher, Bishop David Oyedepo, once said in one of the messages I have, he once said, native intelligence would only produce or can only produce native results. I think that's brutal. Anyway, that's just a joke. So moving on, President Olusegun Obasanjo, to be fair, during his time as president from 1999 to 2007, achieved some modest results as president. Yet his major failures as president have since become Nigeria's greatest undoing, and possibly would result in her demise, potentially. And this major Achilles heel of President Obasanjo are two. Number one, his undemocratic mindset, and secondly, his woeful succession plan. And I give context. It was under President Olusegun Obasanjo that political party supremacy and discipline of members was destroyed. It was President Olusegun Obasanjo who instigated the removal of his party chair at gunpoint, almost at gunpoint. I wasn't told. I didn't read newspaper. I didn't get this news on newspaper or on television. Professor Chief Audu Ogbe wrote the foreword to my book, God and Nigerians. I sat with him, at his home. He has a building inside the villa precinct. So I sat with him not once, not twice, not thrice. In the course of our conversations and all of that, we reminisces over, the political issues of that time. And he told me this one-on-one, So President Olusegun Obasanjo, almost at gunpoint, forced Chief Audogbe as PDP chairman to resign. It was also under President Obasanjo that the attitude, the mindset of Nigerian politicians, this do or die mindset, was incubated and nurtured in this Fourth Republic. Going forward, President Obasanjo's administration conducted the 2003 and 2007 general elections that were nothing but a mere farcical process where the winner or winners already emerged long before the polls were even conducted. Then the election body, only sought vainly to perfect the perfidy afterwards. However, his biggest undoing, like I mentioned earlier, remains his failed succession plan that saw him practically foist a sick and unprepared man, even unwilling to become president, whose first major assignment, that is President Yar'Adua, having become president, his first assignment was to then undo a couple of the strategic decisions President Obasanjo had taken, cardinal objective of his administration. President Yar'Adua, the first assignment was to undo this. Number one, reversed the sale of petroleum refineries, and number two, stopped and instigated a probe of the power sector reform, process. A sort of poetic irony or injustice, if you will. Now, I surmise that the tragedy of Nigeria's atrocious underdevelopment is simply and squarely a tragedy of missed chances in leadership selection, borrowing a phrase made famous by the great and legendary literary giant, Professor Chinua Achebe. I repeat again, the tragedy of Nigeria's atrocious underdevelopment is simply and squarely a tragedy of missed chances in leadership selection. And I gave context as follows. First, missed chance of leadership in Nigeria. Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Perhaps the greatest leadership tragedy of all, and one that is of such unimaginable magnitude. Personally, I equate Chief Obafemi Awolowo to historical figures, leaders such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. These were, leaders of American democratic experiments who built America and played pivotal role in the evolution of that country to make America what it is today. I equate Chief Obafemi Awolowo again to a historical leader such as Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, the founding prime minister of Lee Kuan Yew, without whom that nation probably would never have attained the status, the model of leadership excellence in all the leading business schools, elite business schools in the world, as it is today. I also equate Chief Obafemi Awolowo to the Chinese premier Deng Xiaoping, who built China, made China what it is today, laid the framework, the groundwork, and ensuring that China had a long line of excellent, capable, stream of leaders to succeed after he's long gone, Deng Xiaoping. I equate him, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, again to Indian Prime Minister, founding Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, etc., etc. So, on at least 3 different occasions, Chief Obafemi Awolowo offered himself as president of Nigeria. He offered himself to become president of Nigeria. Yet, repeatedly, Nigerian elite class chose a far less qualified, competent, and capable options. The 3 times, at least 3 times, that Chief Obafemi Awolowo offered himself to be president of Nigeria and replicate what he did in the southwest region from 54 to 59, On the 3 occasions he offered to become president of Nigeria, the ruling elite declined and deliberately chose far less options than Chief Obafemi Awolowo. I strongly believe, I may be wrong, but it's my opinion. I strongly believe it was at this juncture that the powers of the heavens decided, okay, Nigerians, this is what you want. You want to go this route? Have your way. Go ahead. I believe that strongly. This man didn't offer himself only once or twice, but thrice. Yet Nigerian leaders, seeing him, knowing him, his competence, his capacity, legendary intellectual acumen, but particularly moral authority, discipline, they said, no, we don't want your type. Second missed chance in Nigeria's leadership debacle. Dr. Ifeanyi Alex Ekweme, not succeeding President Shehu Shagari in the Second Republic was a great leadership tragedy. Leader Ifeanyi Dr. Alex Ekweme was a doctorate degree holder in architecture, superbly competent, capable individual, stable temperament, a disciplined man, moral, authority, great moral authority. Of course, the Second Republic was aborted in 1984 by the military, and that saw Muhammad Buhari become president in December 84. Third leadership missed opportunity, MK Abiola, the winner of the freest and most credible elections yet in Nigeria's history, the June 12, 1993 elections, not being allowed to assume his potent and historic governing mandate was a colossal leadership tragedy of immense proportions. We're still reeling from that tragedy up till here. Fourth missed opportunity, Dr. Alex Ekweme again, not clinching the PDP ticket in 1998, thus becoming the candidate of the party and then going on to win the elections in 1999. That was another missed opportunity. Fifth, missed chance. Oba Olufalaye, that is the reason why I'm doing this video. Olufalaye, a Yale-trained development economist, who rose through the ranks, got a Ford Foundation scholarship to go to Yale, and there was a tug of war between Harvard and Yale on who would have him. And then he rose to become Director of Development Economic of National Economic Planning in the civil service, when the civil service was at its glorious zenith. And then he became SGF, became Minister for Finance. Within that period, he was also, the MD of, Nigeria's, National Bank. And yet we left that and chose, Nigerians opted for Chief Obasanjo rather than Olufalaye. And then, of course, the sixth missed chance, President Obasanjo not finding a capable, democratic, and competent technocrat abounding when he was president in 2007 as his successor, but was rather invested in installing a lackey, and in so doing, botched the entire process with incalculable negative consequences even till this day. Now, why have Nigeria's ruling elites, spanning the different eras I highlighted, failed in preferring a merit-based leadership selection to one that is solely determined by class protection? Why? Simple answer: a lack of patriotism. Simple. A lack of patriotism. They don't care about Nigeria. Nigerian elite class haven't learned that subsuming their selfish interest for the common good is ultimately the best option, which guarantees a win-win scenario for all Nigerian citizens, and especially the survival of the country itself. They haven't realized, even up to now I'm speaking, they don't realize it. This is why I ask again and again, is Nigeria jinxed? Because other nations I listed, even more that I listed earlier, and many more, never missed their leadership opportunities, but seized this gladly and to maximum results. Even those who missed the opportunities once corrected this missed chance immediately. So you have cases such as Rwanda that had this genocide where people died, over 1 million people died, and yet immediately they corrected it by installing Paul Kagame as president. And in the past 25 years or so, see the transformation of Rwanda. And then you have Vietnam, you have Egypt, that almost descended into a maelstrom of a theocracy, and then it was corrected. And then see what is happening in Egypt. And then you have South Korea, you have South Africa, etc. So Nigeria, however, has refused. The leaders of Nigeria have refused to learn and understand, that political leadership must be hinged purely on a merit-based selection process. And I do not, when I say merit-based selection process, I do not imply a nebulous or arcane concept, but one that is measured by the following leadership fitness tests. Number one, leadership fitness. Number one, moral fitness test. Number two, mental fitness test. Number three, physical fitness test. Number four, democratic fitness test. Number five, performance fitness test. Number six, and last but not the least, emotional fitness test. So these 6 tests, leadership tests, are the metrics I designed personally to determine, what constitutes or what comprise of a merit-based leadership selection process. And this means whoever wants to be president or governor, you must have excellent scores in 4 of these 6 tests. And of these 4 that you must have A grade score, 80 and above score in 4. And of the 4, the first 2 are an absolute, priority. They are absolutely non-negotiable. Meaning, out of the 6, for you to become president or governor, you've got to score excellent grades, A grade, in 4 of them. And of the 4, the top 2 are non-negotiable. They are absolutely non-negotiable. That is moral fitness and mental fitness or intellectual fitness. Just look at Nigeria. It's not a lack of education. It's a lack of moral authority. People come to power without any moral scruples. Everything goes. Everything goes. So we can continue to delude ourselves, that how a leader is selected or the kinds of people who emerge to lead in Nigeria, either as governor or president, judges, legislators, and even civil servants in our country doesn't matter. The joke is only on us. And sadly, more sadly, on the future generations. I mean, look at Nigeria civil service. Nigeria civil service has decayed from the era where it wasn't only Olufale that was Yale educated. The Phillips Asiodus of this world, the Alison Zahidas of this world, the Mohammed Jodas of this world. I mean, go check those people, the Kenneth Dickens of this world. Just check the pedigree of the men who founded the Nigerian civil service. Go and check the judges, the profile of Nigeria's judges from independence, before pre and post independence, up to the late 80s. Go and check their profile, even 90s. Go and check their profile. Compare it to today. So we can continue to fool ourselves that the character, the pedigree, the intellectual standing of the people who come to leadership, as governors, as presidents, as judges, as legislators, as civil servants, does not matter. We just open the floodgates and allow just about every, rank, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry, borrowing a common cliche, just throw the floodgates open for any thug, any tout, any just about anybody to come in. And then you have a society that is fast, unraveling before our eyes. That's what we get. So while the rest of the civilized world have made and are still making great leaps forward, but here we are in Nigeria, stuck in a rut of brutal and savage realities, while we celebrate, absolute nonsense as achievements. Hopefully, perhaps, and I stress and underline, hopefully, when it isn't too late, we will get our acts, we'll get our acts together and we'll get it right. But I emphasize once again, hopefully. Thank you for listening, and may God bless Nigeria. Thank you once again for listening.